I am now joined by Helen Zille. Helen, how does it feel to be here today at our Gauteng provincial offices as we launch this fourth TV ad that's really speaking about our mission to rescue South Africa? Why rescue SA?
Well, the alternative to being rescued is dying. That's the point. If someone's drowning, you hope to rescue them. If someone's fallen into a very deep, dark pit, you try to rescue them. Because the alternative to being rescued is dying. And that is the message we're trying to get across to South Africa. It is not 5 minutes to midnight in South Africa. It's 7 minutes past midnight in South Africa, and the clock is ticking. And the longer South Africans wait to vote for the DA, the harder it's going to be to rescue this country and apply mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to it. Fortunately, we managed to rescue the Western Cape in 2009. And we have to try and rescue many other parts of South Africa as soon as possible to give us a chance.
Yeah, no, I mean, this election really is about survival. Now, we know that for the first time in history, the ANC will be dropping below 50% inside this election, which means coalition governments are the future. Now, there are lots of options, but we know one of them is the potential doomsday coalition of, the ANC, the EFF, and we could see the Patriotic Alliance and MK jumping on board. What would this mean if such a government were to lead South Africa?
Well, of course, it would have instant devastating economic impact, a really devastating economic impact. There'd be massive disinvestment. The bonds of South Africa would have almost no demand. It would be devastating. There'd be many, many houses on the market and many people trying to leave. And that would be terrible for the poor in particular, because it would mean massive job losses. Every time a business relocates out of South Africa or moves, or even families who can employ people move out of South Africa, it means that more and more and more people join the jobless queue. So that's one aspect. But I think far more serious is going to be the collapse of our democratic institutions. All sorts of things like the separation between party and state, which sounds like an esoteric concept, but is absolutely critical to holding government to account and defending the rule of law, will be gone. The judiciary will be captured. There will be no parliamentary oversight over the executive. If we thought corruption was bad in the last 30 years, you ain't seen nothing yet if the ANC, MK, the Patriotic Alliance and the EFF come to power. They will ride roughshod over every check and balance to their power. And trying to resurrect democratic institutions that have been broken is the hardest thing of all. That's why we say rescue South Africa while we still can.
No. Helen, before the DA took over the Western Cape and Cape Town with an outright majority, we had coalition governments which you led. Why is the story of the Western Cape and Cape Town a story of hope for the rest of the people of South Africa?
Well, I think the real hope came because we rescued the Western Cape early enough. In 2009, we were there, and fortunately we got a clear majority, 51%, so we did not have to go into coalition. I'd been in a coalition before in the city of Cape Town. That was a 7-party coalition, and it was a minority coalition for a while until the ID came on board. So I have been in coalitions. They're very difficult and very complex to manage, but it was spectacular to get an overall majority in 2009. Then we could take our manifesto, turn it into a plan, put a budget behind it, put performance systems in place, and go. And the result is what you see today. But what makes it hopeful is that that can happen in the rest of the country. It just takes a very simple thing. A majority of people must vote DA.
And as you said, we see what's going on in the Western Cape. The DA does get things done. Now, you've held positions in various governments and you've been involved in politics for decades. Why do you do what you do?
Well, I believe South Africa can work. I love this country. It's got spectacular potential. It's got some of the richest mineral deposits in the world. It's got some of the most ingenious and enterprising people you'll ever meet anywhere. You've got loads of commitment amongst passionate people. And we just have to learn to come together on the basis of shared values that are now in our Constitution and build a new majority to do that. And to make sure that the good people of South Africa who want this country to work and who want to work very hard to get it to work come together and pool their efforts. So that's why I get up every morning. That's why I do what I do, because I believe it is possible.
No, that really is a message of hope. What would your final message be for people at home watching in the run-up to this crucial election on the 29th of May?
Your vote really matters. Your vote really matters. Don't ever think that it won't make any difference. I was elected as mayor of Cape Town by one seat in the council, one. And if a couple of people hadn't gone out to vote, we might have lost that extra seat on the remainder and never had it. And we would have lost Cape Town, and then we wouldn't have been able to turn around the Western Cape. Every vote matters. Every point matters. You know that we won the quarterfinal, the semi-final, and the final of the World Cup by 1 point. You can ask, how does 1 point make a difference in a rugby match? It makes a difference between being the world champions and being the runners-up. So it is critically important that everybody takes the privilege of the vote. And it's a right in a democracy. Of course it's a right. But I still regard it as a privilege because so many people didn't have the vote for most of our history.